All right. I think we're live. Welcome back, guys, to another live session here with Kitchen 365. Appreciate anyone that's joining here. Give everybody a minute or two to jump in. I know I'm a couple minutes late here. Apologies for the delay. Just one moment and we will get rolling. All right. So, for those of you that are here, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, thanks for joining. Today, going to talk a little bit about email automation for cabinet businesses and how that can make an impact. Um, More specifically, talking about a few different segments of email automation, right? A couple of different things to um, consider there. Let me pop over to. Dun, 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 dun. I hope this is working. Um, don't you love technology, guys? So yeah, like I said, talking about smart email automations to help nurture cabinet leads. But more specifically, the things that I kind of want to cover today are welcome sequences and drip campaigns to help kind of nurture cabinet leads, different like follow-ups and abandoned inquiries. So if someone is shopping on your site and it's an abandoned cart, or if someone submits some sort of form or gets to a form page but doesn't submit for whatever reason, trying to follow up with those guys and different opportunities that you may kind of have there, as well as different like product promotion series, right? So there are different ways that you can do that, different opportunities there that you can potentially take advantage of. But how you best want to promote your products, and then talking about how to segment your lists, right? How to talk to the right people at the right time with the right messaging for maximum relevance. So we'll start with our welcome sequences and drip campaigns. Um, a few of the trigger examples that I've listed here: newsletter signups, free design requests, sample kit orders. These are all reasons why people should start to receive these sorts of emails. And here I've also given kind of just a rough example of the sort of sequence that one might set up. So just to quickly walk you through it, when someone takes one of these sorts of trigger actions, the goal with these sorts of like welcome sequences or drip campaigns is to nurture the lead, meaning give them a reason to want to communicate with you further, or take a further action, whatever that action may be. So usually, right, what that means is scheduling some sort of call if they haven't done so already, or doing a demo if they haven't done so already, that sort of thing. So let's just take the example of a free design request, right? Um, in those cases, if they're requesting a design, it might be a little more, specific with the sort of content that you want to send. So actually, let's go to a newsletter signup. That want to be easier just to walk through a high level example. So let's say someone signs up to learn more information about your business, right? Just general contact, reach out. First thing you want to do is send them just a quick follow up right after. Hey, thanks for wanting to learn more. We appreciate your interest. Here's a little bit more information about us. So that kind of gives them an opportunity to say, hey, maybe uh, what are some of the specific things that you guys offer, right? What are some of the um, specific uh, products that you guys might offer? What are some of the specific services that you guys might offer? How can I further engage with you? That's the idea, right? Um, and so that's kind of the step one. Step two, in this particular just high level example flow, um, is the bestsellers or collections, right? So there we're calling out a few specific products that are kind of the most relevant, let's say, most popular, whatever you want that to be. But once again, you're basically sharing, at a high level, here are the things that you guys should engage with. Here are the products that are popular right now. Here are the major trends. And then giving them an opportunity to convert there. If these are the top products, hey, here's a link to purchase, or here's a link to learn more about these particular styles. Then moving into like testimonials, project galleries, just basically building credibility through social proof. So case studies are great for this sort of thing. Hey, here's a reason why you should work with us, or rather, here's a reason why people like to work with us. Here are all the great products that we've done before. Here's an example of a project that we've done where the person was super stoked, or rather the client was super stoked on what we were able to do and what we were able to accomplish for them. Then moving into educational content, if they still haven't maybe taken that trigger action that you're looking for, here is, and before I continue, I guess I should say all this is interchangeable in terms of order and things like that, depending on who you're talking to, how you want to engage with them. This all might shift, but just kind of trying to give you a high level example here. So going back to this educational content, this is, um, you know, uh, here's some blog content that discusses further like why our styles and the styles that I called out before are most popular right now. Here are why this particular finish is really relevant right now. That kind of stuff doesn't have to be blog content. Can also be video content, obviously, which is super super engaging and probably where you want to lean. Sending and that can be kind of the CTA. Learn more by watching this video or something like that, or this on-demand demo, let's say, right, or something like that. Um, that sort of stuff. And then lastly, the one I've called out here is offer samples or some sort of consultation. And that one is kind of vague because like a lot of these emails are going to include that sort of call to action. But this is like maybe let's call it a last ditch effort. Hey, we really want to get in touch with you. It's been a few touch points at this point. Here's kind of one last chance for you to get in touch with us if you're really, if you're still interested. If it's not a good time, no biggie, but would love to hear from you. Would love to work with you, help you out, kind of thing. Offering just really personal experience, for lack of a better term there. Regardless, whichever of those emails they convert on, we're going to include call to actions in all of them, and at which point sales team or demo team or whoever, it depends on your business, takes it from there. Design specialists, let's say maybe, takes it from there and proceeds accordingly, depending on what nurture they're in. But the goal here is just trying to craft a really, at least seemingly personalized experience, even if it's not. But you want to seriously consider, one, what was the trigger action that they converted on. That'll help you determine like how the flow should be set up and which of these sorts of things should be included. Um, the target clientele, right? So how, like, what action was taken. But even then, sometimes if you want to get more granular about kind of like I said, trying to personalize that experience. Yes, this person took this action, but what type of person are they? Are they a contractor? Are they a homeowner? Are they something else? Something to consider. Are they a dealer maybe, right? Like whatever, it depends on where you are in this business. But depending on what the goal is, what the person's doing, who they are, could completely shift your focus when it comes to how you want to nurture them. This is just high level example of what a nurture flow could look like in the way that you're trying to bring someone in. But um, the point here is when someone um, reaches out to you in some capacity, if it's not already like a kind of bottom of the funnel action where they're like scheduling a demo or something or making some sort of purchase where it's actually generating revenue at that point, you should be nurturing those individuals to a point where they will want to take those actions. That's what this is. Sorry, before I move on, doing it automatically, right? Without having to manually do all that outreach, because it's a lot of work if you do it all manually. Let's automate that process. Take a little work off your plate. Do it automatically. Super simple to set up these sorts of things, as long as you know what you're doing. But if you want it to look professional, sound professional, and actually be impactful and work, in my experience, at least, better to go with an agency than try to do it all yourself. Because if you try to do everything yourself from a marketing perspective, it gets really tough. It really does. Um, Okay, abandoned inquiry and follow-ups. So trigger examples that I'm calling out here are form started but not completed. So let's say maybe they've done like a step 1 of a design form to just fill out their contact info, but when they get to step 2 where they need to fill out all the dimensions, they're like, I don't have time to do this right now. I'll come back to it later. What if they don't come back? You know what I mean? We want to encourage those people to come back. So, and same thing for the abandoned carts and like product stuff. If it's an e-commerce play and someone has added several products to a cart, maybe they've purchased from you guys before, maybe they haven't, but they've gotten to a certain level through the process where you at least have their email, they've added a few products to the cart, but didn't add the credit card, whatever. Let's reach out to those people. Why would we not encourage them to finish that process? They're almost there. They're 95% of the way there. So let's encourage them to finish. And here's again, super high level strategy on how one might do that. So they've let's take the let's take the sorry, the design request. My brain's not working today, guys. I apologize. But let's take the design request example and just run through this flow. So they've taken the first step of filling out the contact, information portion, personal info portion of a design request form. Great. They've submitted that. They've gone to step 2. Oh, I don't have time to do this right now. I'll do it later. Once they submit that first portion, depending on how you have it set up, in our case, a lot of the time, if we're setting up these sorts of design request forms, we'll do it in chunks like this, just so that we can, because it's a lot of information you need to collect in those cases. So we'll do it in chunks just so that you can get to certain steps in the process, and if they don't finish, we can nurture. So let's say they filled out that personal info portion, didn't finish. We don't want to immediately ping them because that's just obnoxious and annoying. Hey, okay, easy killer. I'm sorry I didn't finish the form immediately. Relax. Give them a few hours at least, bare minimum. Maybe they're on lunch and then they have to go back to work, right? But they're thinking about this kitchen renovation that they want to do and need to do. Just don't have the time right this second. Fine. So I'm on lunch. I filled out this form. Give them a few hours. Let's ping that person. 2 to 4 hours, 2 to 5 hours, whatever. I mean, it's nebulous, but generally later that day is when we want to reach out to them for such point. Hey, saw you start this process but didn't quite finish. Are you still wanting to go through this process and have your dream kitchen put together? Reach back out to us. We'd love to help. Maybe they still don't reach out. Fine. Let's ping them again next day. Right? Because in these cases, again, they've already started the process. So it's totally different if you're talking to someone that maybe is more top of funnel or earlier on. But in this case, they're almost there. They're almost to the point where like you can taste the dollar signs. Right? So let's lean in. Let's be as proactive as we possibly can there. So next day we reach out to them again. Hey, just a reminder, we're still here, still want to, by the way, here is some social proof maybe. Here's a review of someone that recently worked with us. They loved how it finished. Here's a picture. Would still love to work with you. We're here to help. Maybe they still don't finish the process. Don't finalize that design request. Fine. Couple days later, we're reaching out one more time. Hey, saw you were almost there. Really want to work with you. If you're hesitant for whatever reason on working with us for some reason, maybe you saw a better price somewhere else, here is 10% off of your first purchase if you go with this design, or if you finish your design here, blah 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 blah, or if you click this link, right? That way it's trackable. But in that case, it's kind of a really best foot forward, last ditch effort to say, please, you're almost there, finish this process and let's get moving on your project. But being as proactive as we can in these cases is really important, because again, they're almost there. They've already done the hard part. You've already done the hard part. Let's just nurture them enough to where they've finalized that action. Make sure you're including calls to action to complete whatever it is that you're trying to get them to complete, to make it as easy as possible for them, and then get this thing going. But here's just a slight sort of variation of what I talked about before with just kind of general nurturing. But again, this can all be automated. That's again why we set up forms maybe in particular ways, is because we want to have enough available information depending on what stage they got in the process or in the form fill or whatever, in the purchase process maybe, to say, hey, all we need is your credit card to get your dream kitchen done. Let's do this thing or whatever, right? But we can really personalize the content depending on what stage of the process they're in. Something to consider. And then another thing is product promotion emails, right? So this one is, maybe slightly different, and here I've just kind of given a super bad, but no, I'm just kidding. Super just high level example of what kind of content we might want to include here. Um, the idea here being your inventory might change all the time. The lines that you carry could change. There's so many factors that could uh, prompt you to send an email like this. It's so easy and makes such a big impact for existing customers, for potential customers, so on and so forth. But the concept is this: our products change. And there might be, let's say, for example, a line of cabinets that we are going to stop carrying. We want to get rid of the rest of the stuff, the inventory that we have, maybe, right? I don't know. Sending automated messages like this is a super simple way to get those things out. Here are a few examples of the sorts of these kinds of emails that we've sent, and why that matters, right? So, finish of the month. Maybe there's a line or a style, a finish, a color that is super hot, super trending right now. Maybe you just want to let your customers or potential customers know that you carry that, right? If it's super popular, why would you not want to say, hey, by the way, we've got this and it's flying off the shelves. Just for you, here's a 10% off because we know you're going to want it. Super easy way to prompt business or return, whether it's return business, new business, whatever. And again, you can automate these sorts of messages depending on the person and how they've interacted with you, whether it's existing customer or potential customer. I'll get into that sort of segmentation momentarily, but just want to touch on these moments first. Style Showdown. I know that's a silly name, but basically I'm just referring to looking at two different trending styles, maybe that are on super opposite ends of the spectrum, and saying, hey, here are the pros and cons of these different things. Depending on like what your project is looking like, you might actually want to go with this versus this, and here's why. Giving your customers and potential customers that sort of educational information about where things are heading, and the different cues that might inform a particular design decision, super helpful. People really, I think, in my experience, really appreciate that sort of forethought given to design. This, at the end of the day, guys, I say this all the time, but this is something that people are gonna have to look at every single day in their homes, right? So let's make sure that they're making the most informed decision possible. How do you do that? By educating them. I'm not a designer, right? I do marketing for a living. I don't know what's going to look good in my home. Help me, please. I'm desperate for that sort of education. Um, and we found in most cases people really appreciate that sort of like I said, forethought and assistance in the design process. So even if it's unprompted, right? Hey, by the way, this is super popular right now. Here are two different use cases for these two different things because they are different, and they're helpful in different circumstances. If you have this sort of kitchen, this might be better. If you have this sort of kitchen, this might be better. If you're in this sort of area, this might be more common, which would make more sense to go this route. Whatever that looks like. But Style Showdown, new rivals. Um, Anytime you've got a new product, again, especially if it's trending, why would you not want to call that out? Let's do that. Hey, by the way, this is a new thing. Ooh, shiny, beautiful. Let's get it in your house ASAP. And then seasonal series. I love seasonal series. Um, this is just point blank period a great way to promo. Hey, it's fall. Here's 15% off for the fall y'all cabinet sale. Right? But when I look at product promotion, I'm looking at how can we educate and incentivize in the best way possible. And these are a few examples of how you might do that. But Generally, when you're looking at these sorts of emails, let's keep it simple and make sure the action that you want them to take is as clear as possible. And this goes for, the other emails, automated emails that I've talked about before. But when you're looking at those, 9 times out of 10 with those sorts of nurture emails, we want plain text emails, right? Because we want it to, one, seem personal. A newsletter like HTML highly designed email doesn't seem super personal, and two, we want to make sure those deliver. It's absolutely pivotal that those sorts of emails, nurturing and abandon whatever action, follow-up emails deliver, because at that point it's super focused on getting that conversion to happen, and nurturing the lead in that regard. But with these, you have a little bit more room to play with and show off your products, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a very visual business. We want to be able to show off our products. It's important to do that. So reserve plain text for those sorts of like more personalized nurture emails, and these sorts of more promotional emails and just kind of incentivizing, educating, you can have more fun with and design. But a lot of the time, you still want to keep it fairly simple. You don't want to just like fill space with crap. So yeah, usually we're going like header image, quick headline, XYZ benefits, couple of benefits, or some sort of bullets, like high level stuff, um, blurb to close it out, and then boom, CTA button. And yes, of course, add images in there. It doesn't have to be a single image. Like if you're talking about benefits of a particular product, you might want to have additional images of that product. If you're talking about one line versus another line, or one style versus, let's have those to compare. Or if it's like a project showcase, here's a before and after, whatever that looks like, right? But feel free to play with it more, add images, but high level structure, yeah, you want at least one big, nice, beautiful head image, quick headline, couple high level bullets to walk them through the main meat, right? And then some info to close it out. Here's the action we want you to take. That's the long and short of it. Now let's talk segmentation. There's a million different ways that you can segment nurture emails, abandonment emails, product promotional emails, to make it more impactful, right? Because different people react to different content in different ways at different times. So, like, if you want the best possible chance for this email to work, you need to try and personalize it to your audience, and get as granular as you can or want. But I mean, here are a couple of the high level categories, let's say, right, of ways that you might segment an audience when you're looking at either automated emails or like newsletter emails, anything. But in this case, we're talking about automated emails. Lead type. So this is basically the sort of person that is getting in touch with you, or that you were trying to get in touch with. Sample buyers, meaning someone that's ordering a sample from you. Straightforward. Uh, Design requests, right? So in that case, we're looking at like e-commerce versus more lead gen. Email subscribers, so those are obviously going to be way more top of funnel. There might be a longer nurturing process, need more educational content in those cases. Past customers, these are people that have already ordered from you. Maybe they'll need less nurturing. Maybe they just want to stay up to date on new trends. It's been 10 years since I did my kitchen. I'm looking to do it again. I want to go back to you guys because you did a great job last time, but oh wow, look at all this new stuff, right? So just in those few examples, we talked about like 4 different ways that those emails might look and feel and sound and happen, right? The cadence might be different. The length of the campaign might be different. So um, that's one way to consider how you can differentiate and talk to your specific audience more specifically. Project stage is another one. Is this person just browsing? Like they've just decided they want to redo their kitchen. They're this is the first step in the process, is I'm browsing around. Um, Again, that's more top of funnel. That changes things. That changes how you might approach it. If they're just browsing, hey, here's more stuff to browse. Here's options, right? People love options. If they're actively in design, at that point, you're probably just looking at updates, right? So what's cool about that is at that point, you're really just considering, I'm at X stage in the process, person clicks whatever in the project management tool that automatically gets an email to send, that kind of thing. Post purchase. This again is someone that maybe just finished up their product, or rather just finished up their project with you. Hey, really appreciate you working with us. Hope you're satisfied. Seemed, whatever. Would love if you left us a review. Boom. Great way to kind of utilize not only like great way to not only generate revenue. Yes, great. We won money, but also leverage that to continue to expose yourself, build brand awareness, that sort of stuff. Location, no brainer, right? Geographic based offers. If you have multiple locations, it's a super easy one. If you're nearby a showroom, a particular showroom, if you're, whatever, like there are a million different ways you could do it from a geographic perspective. But super easy low hanging fruit there. So like I said, these are just 3 examples of different ways that you can segment, but there's a ton more, guys, like different ways that they've engaged. Um, there's a ton of stuff that you can do in terms of segmentation. Highly encourage you to segment, because it's going to make your messaging more impactful, because you can personalize it in that case, right, to the particular scenario that that person is in. And that's it, guys. That is all I have for you. So moral of the story here is, um, email automation makes a big impact. Why? Because one, takes a lot of manual work off your plate, so you're not having to do all these touch points. Two, helps to take people from top of funnel to middle of the funnel to bottom of the funnel, and without you having to be as involved as you might be. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you are looking to grow your cabinet business and all you're doing is running paid ads with no plan to, um, no super specific or in-depth plan to get in touch with those leads, you're going to fail. You are going to fail. You have no idea how many times someone has, been in talks with us and said, hey, I want to get started. I want to just start with paid ads. And if paid ads goes well, every agency ever has heard this story, but I want to start with just paid ads. And, if that goes well, let's do more. And they have ended up failing because, we say, hey, look, paid ads are great. Yes, it's a quick lead driver and that's awesome. But if you don't have either the structure or some automated efforts to help move those leads along, it's not going to work out for you. And what do you know? They're like, well, yeah, look at all these leads, but they're not going anywhere. Well, have you called them? Well, I'm behind on calling them, but I'm trying. You know what I mean? Like, one of the most impactful things that you can do to help close a deal is get in touch with them immediately. And these automated efforts help. Like, it doesn't all have to be on you. The last thing I want to do as part of your team is put more work on you. So help me help you. Give us the opportunity to automate the process a little bit, nurture those leads, and then you can just worry about the money that's rolling in, right? That's the idea here, guys. We've seen it work for a ton of cabinet businesses. So if you want to learn more about how uh, automated lead nurturing and specifically like email or SMS could work for you and your business, please get in touch with us. Here's all our website, all our social channels. Please reach out. Beautiful picture of me stunting on them. And yeah, that's all I got for you. So thank you again for joining me today. Truly appreciate you. And yeah, we will do this again soon. Um, Tune in a couple of weeks for another live session, and looking forward to it. All right, thanks, guys. Bye bye.